Welcome to Ministers Forum. I'm Paul Moore. With me this evening is the Honorable Norman Whitaker, Minister within the Ministry of Local Government, who has the responsibilities for NDCs and municipalities. Minister Whitaker, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I know much is being done, and I know your schedule is quite hectic, pointedly dealing with municipalities right across the country. I know several municipalities have presented their budgets. Tell us exactly what is going on, what's the focus, and how important is all this?
Thank you very much, Paul. It's important to know, firstly, that we have 6 municipalities across the 10 administrative regions of Guyana. Municipalities are themselves an important tier of local government, just below the Regional Democratic Council. We have the Georgetown municipality, the New Amsterdam, that's in Region 6, New Amsterdam, then you have Rosal, Corriverton. You also have in Region 2, Anna Regina municipality, and in Linden, you have the Linden municipality. Each of these municipalities is headed by a mayor, comprised of the mayor, deputy mayor, councillors, and a staff headed by the town clerk, who is the chief administrative officer of the council. The council delivers services, a wide range of services within the boundaries of its municipality. And so if we use New Amsterdam as an example, they're required to deliver services within their boundaries. Those services primarily revolve around solid waste collection and disposal. Drainage is very important. Market services, another very important area. Some of them operate daycare centers. Repairing infrastructure, bridges, internal roads, etc. These are among some of the prime functions performed by these municipalities. So then the next question would be, no doubt, where do they get resources to deliver these services? Each of them gets a subvention, a contribution, a grant from central government. In the case of the Georgetown municipality, they get 20 million. New Amsterdam and Linden get 10 million each, and the others, Anna Regina, Corriverton, and Rosal, get 8 million each. Quite apart from that, they are allowed to raise their own funds. They garner funds by way of rates, which are paid by the householders and the business sector. Those who operate markets, they also garner funds there. But the prime source of revenue outside of the subvention will be the rates that they collect, and to a lesser extent, the market facilities that they provide. So that's what they use to provide services. Having said that, in the context of the budget that they presented recently, that's a requirement of the legislation, 2801, Chapter 2801, the Municipal and District Councils Act. That's the legislation that guides the way municipalities operates. And as a requirement, they would have presented at the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development to the minister their respective budgets. These budgets would have emanated out of a development plan for those municipalities that have such plans, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. It would have emanated from that, and so it would have had the contribution of councillors of the council. But even more important, it is expected that the budgets will have the input of the residents within the municipality, and that the municipality would have engaged those residents at public forum, properly advertised, so people come and give their opinions. Coming out of these engagement, these meetings, the committee responsible, or the person responsible for putting together the budget, would so do and present it to the finance committee. of the council. From there, it goes to the council itself. And once it would have passed there, it comes to the minister. At the ministry, we check to ensure several things, primary of which will be to ensure that there is no unnecessary and unduly hardship imposed on people. For example, a municipality deciding to raise rates by 10, 15%. We look to see that there's justification. That's the important term there. So we examine these budgets against the plan, where there's one, against the previous year's budget, and that's how our officers will do that. And then we would either give the approval or send it back for some changes, some corrections. I know that in some instances we have had reason to do that.
Well, Minister, in your opinion, how adequate are these garnering revenue resources, the standard revenue areas from which monies are being drawn from to impact development within the municipalities?
Well, Paul, resources would never be adequate. You know, people have so many wants. The more we satisfy a given set of wants, then the bottom of the list comes up there. So the resources would never be adequate.
But what I was getting at, though, is are we trying to move away and become more innovative to find new ways of going, for example, in the city of Georgetown?
Excellent, excellent. Because that's what we have been encouraging the municipalities to focus on several areas. If you had access to the financial records of the municipality, and people should try to make themselves aware because it's a public document, you would find that less than 50% of the revenue that they should be garnering, the rates that they should be collecting, they in fact collect. So a significant amount of the revenue is out there. This is because in some instances there are some ratepayers who complain that the municipality is not delivering services. They're not satisfied with the service delivered. And so you have this group who are reluctant to pay. You also have an attitude on the part of some municipalities. They sit and wait for people to come to them. People are not going to do that. We have to reach out. So we've been saying to the municipalities, you have to reach out to the people. The councillors should see their responsibilities as not being restricted merely to attending statutory meetings. You have to reach out to people. And when you reach out to people, is to discuss with them how things are going. Are you satisfied with the services? Tell us about your area of dissatisfaction and give us your recommendation. And as you engage the people, it provides opportunity for you to tell them about some of the things that you're doing. Because many of them are workers, whether they're working in the rice farms, in the cane fields, as a public servant. Many of them are workers and they do not find the time to attend all the meetings and to find out these things. So there is need for us as councillors to engage them, to tell them these things. And as we do that, to remind them that more can be done if they pay the rates that they may owe. So it has to be a continual engagement between council and residents. But there's much more. Take City Council, for example. Over $1 billion is owed by ratepayers out there. And I am confident that if a concerted effort is made to reach out to these debtors, a significant percentage of what is owed will be raked in. Okay?
What about the legal aspect? Now you're hitting on that, to garner those funds or to get those monies that are owed. Is there any legal?
Yes, the council can do. In fact, many of the councils have been doing that. They have been taking defaulters to court. Of course, it's a long process. It could be in some instances. And of course, also there's a cost involved. Many, like the Georgetown municipality, have been able to rake in some of the rates that is owed through that step. But what we're saying to them is that that should be a last resort. Okay? Reach out to the people. And so we have now, in some of the municipalities, a debt collection or debt recovery unit. And they reach out in small groups to people. And it has been somewhat effective, but they need to see it as something that you have to ongoing. You don't do it today and this week and then you're finished with it. It has to be a department that is continually reaching out to the people. Not to penalize them, not to abuse them, but to get them to see that the council is delivering, but is not able to deliver as much as you would want to because of resources. And included in that, in those resources, are what people owe.
You want us to touch now on the interim management committees. Give us a picture of what is going on and why this is being looked at, and what's the aim in setting up interim management committees across certain communities.
Thanks for this opportunity. It's an area that people have been inquiring about. It's an area that the political opposition have been trying to use to their advantage. And in fact, let me start by saying that of the 65 NDCs, presently we have IMCs in 29 of them. You see, local government elections are supposed to be held every 3 years. I think we all understand why it hasn't been held. But the legislation provides how we can replace councillors who may have died, who may have left the country, who may have decided that they no longer wanted to be active in the council. The legislation provides for that. And one of the mechanisms is by way of the interim management committee. The legislation allows persons, ratepayers within the municipality or within the NDCs, within the neighborhoods, to petition the minister. And it advances the reasons that one can use. Incompetence, inefficiency, council failing to deliver goods and services, failing to account for the money, financial irregularities. They advance the reason and they petition. It's not Ministry of Local Government said that. It's not Minister Gangbasada or Minister Whitaker said. The legislation says that. Upon receipt of this petition, we ensure it's authentic, and the minister causes an inquiry, a public inquiry to be held. He appoints a commissioner. We advertise this in the press, and this advertisement captures the name of the commissioner, the venue, the time when the inquiry will be held. So residents within that neighborhood, within that municipality, who have concerns are free to turn up to the inquiry and air these concerns. The commissioner listens, he has a recorder who records, the commissioner provides follow-up questions, etc. And the commissioner puts up a report along with his or her recommendation. The minister is not bound by the commissioner's recommendation. The minister examines the report, examines the recommendations coming out of the report, and makes that decision whether to replace some of the councillors, whether to dissolve the entire council and replace that council with an IMC. And this is what we have been doing wherever we receive these petitions. So it starts with the people. It's not that we sit in an office and decide that that's the way to go. It starts with the people. They petition because they're dissatisfied. And I can tell you, Paul, there are a number of these IMCs that the people are happy about, and the people are saying that they've seen improvements. I was in Coriverton. Quite a lot has been done. I was in Coriverton recently, and I interacted not only with the new IMC, but with residents who are satisfied that they have seen improvement. They have seen initiatives. Take, for example, before the opening of school, the council ensured that all the school compounds were free of weed, etc. So while some people, for their own political or other motives, have been seeing something demonic about IMCs, it's there in the legislation, and all we're doing is following the legislation. That's all we're doing.
So all this is working in the interest of improving services
That's right.
to
That's right.
residents.
Because many of these councils where the people have requested investigation, where they've complained, it is due to depletion in the numbers of the council or the inactivity of the council. And so whilst we do that and we put these IMCs in place, we at the level of the ministry have been building capacity. We have been employing staff, more staff, we've been training them and tasking them with reaching out on a regular basis to train, to provide advice, to ensure things are going right where they're not, to advise staff. And we see this as another way of improving the service delivered through building capacity.
In that same vein, let's take waste disposal.
Yeah.
For example, how improved a situation we have now in terms of that situation?
I must say that solid waste collection and disposal has been an issue of concern for all of us in Guyana. And at the level of the ministry, we have been working with the councils to address that. And whilst people, because of the fact that the land mass and the population is larger, and because it is more visible what is happening here in the city, we have been working in all 10 regions to address that. And in fact, in the 9 regions outside of Georgetown, we did invite the private sector to, if they were interested, to get involved in this whole issue of solid waste collection and disposal. And many of them wrote expressing interest in response to our advertisement. We have identified, with support from the RDC in the regions, with support from EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, we have identified landfill sites in every region. Starting with Region 1, we have identified 1 such site, in Region 2, 2 such sites, and Region 3, 3 such sites, with guidance from the EPA. And a number of contractors, including Puran Brothers, Concepts, Sevens Brothers, have bid to provide services in those in the various regions. These contractors are going to enter into a contractual arrangement with the RDC to provide the services to the householders. This is one of the ways we expect to see some improvements. Mind you, we are not taking away from the NDCs and from the municipalities the responsibility that they have to discharge in helping to ensure that the environment is kept clean and free of garbage. They will continue to look at the markets, they will continue to look at the public places, whilst the private contractors will deal with the individual householders. So we're moving away from this idea of dump sites, where people feel that you just throw garbage all over the place. Having said that, it's not without its challenges. Population has increased, the volume of solid waste has increased over the years, especially in the commercial sector. We have an attitude problem also, right? You and I would remember, you know, as youngsters, you were afraid to throw even a sweet wrapper because you were afraid that some person will be seeing you and will reprimand you for that kind of behavior. Now it's gone beyond that. It's not about littering, it's about dumping, it's about throwing garbage all over the place. It's a big issue. We have been engaging City Council. The city of Georgetown, the municipality of Georgetown has been divided into wards for the purpose of garbage collection and disposal. The area that has the biggest problem is group 7 and 8, for which the city council has responsibility. The others are covered by private contractors, Sevens Waste and Puran Brothers, etc. 7 and 8 has the biggest problem, and that has to do with the fact that their equipment is down. We have gone over this over and over with the council because we are of the view that not enough effort was made in the past to have those machinery, those compactor trucks in working order. For whatever reason, with whatever motives, not enough efforts was made.
So as we move now into the Christmas season, how assured are residents that the city would come to some semblance of, you know, cleanliness and especially with regard to solid waste disposal? Anything specific is being looked at?
Well, of the 8 compactor trucks, 6 are now in order. I've noted with interest, and I'm happy about this, that the private sector is getting on board to work with the council. Recently, a company, I think the Govaya group of companies, presented the city hall with some receptacles for storing garbage. I've noticed the engagement with the Chamber of Commerce, with the private sector. And that's what we've been saying to council all along. I had a meeting with the council and the private sector last year, during the last quarter, where we invited the private sector to work with the council.
And it's bearing fruit.
The council sat back waiting on the private sector to come to them. Instead of they reaching out, they waited back for that. But I'm happy that the private sector is coming on board. They have engaged the people in the commercial sector. They have a role to play because a lot of what is out there is commercial waste. Also, we have the enforcement section, the constab. What I'm worried about is the mayor's decision to allow vending during the holidays. I have learned that efforts are going to be made to have some kind of controlled vending. I don't know how practical that is. But we are concerned about that because we are talking about vendors on the pavement, denying the public the free and
Access.
easy ingress and egress. They build up in garbage. I have noted that the mayor has indicated to those vendors that they're responsible for their own garbage. I want to suggest to the mayor that the council has an important role to ensure that that happens. You couldn't leave it on the vendors who are too busy trying to bring in an extra dollar. And another area of concern is the possibility of upsurge in criminal activities. I've noted that the police have a plan to be more noticeable, to be more mobile during the vacation.
Minister, we're running out of time, but maybe as we go out, what about parking? Anything strategic or holistic will be looked at via the municipalities to maybe parking?
We haven't discussed that with the city council, but it's one of the areas that
As you know, that's a sore area
it's
as
a
well.
sore area. And certainly we would engage them on it. We haven't discussed that.
Or do you want to wrap up because we're running out now?
Yeah, I want to say that the local government bodies have not been delivering the way we would like them to deliver. But having said that, one would see that over the past year, there has been some improvement. We have installed public servants in some instances to replace councillors. We have put IMC in place. We have had training programs continually targeting the councillors, targeting the town clerks, targeting the overseers, and very shortly we'll have one targeting the environmental health officers and the public health inspectors that are part of these local government bodies. We have been making, at the level of the ministry, a concerted effort, not only to train, but to create awareness. We have been sending our officers to visit projects, completed projects, projects that are happening with a view to seeing that they are being properly done. So these are some of the interventions, and there's a role for the public too. Attend the council meetings, let your voice be heard, so that we can see some improvement in the way things are done out there.
Good, a very good note to end on. Joining me today was the Honorable Norman Whitaker, Minister within the Ministry of Local Government, addressing issues relating to NDCs, the interim management committees, and municipalities across the country. Minister, I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm Paul Moore.
Thank you.
Have a good
It's been a
day.
pleasure.